friends, Tracy here. Today's video I'm going to show you how to make this curtain fold card. This is an adaptation from the Coast to Coast Craft Girls YouTube channel, so let's go ahead and get started. In her video she does a 5x7. I have adapted this to be an A2 size card. So I'm starting out with a sheet of paper which is 9 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and we're going to do some scoring on there, and I'm going to write this down for you and then freeze frame it so that you can write down the measurements. So that's 5 1/4 by 9, and you want to use a relatively lightweight piece of paper. And we're going to do quite a bit of scoring. So we're going to score at 1 3/4. We're going to score at 2 3/8. We're going to score at 3 1/2. We'll score at 4 1/8. We'll score at 5 1/4. We'll score at 5 7/8. We'll score at 7, and we'll score at 7 5/8, and that's going to make a total width of 4 inches. So here it is freeze frame if you want to write these down, and let's go ahead and get scoring. Now I'm going to speed all this scoring up because you've seen one score, you've seen them all. So I'm just following the directions, and see what I'm getting here is I have a wider panel and then I have some thinner panels which are about 1 1/8, and then the last panel is a little bit wider at about 1 1/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark at the 2 inch and at the very first score line, and then I'm going to take my trimmer, and it's not going to fit. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to fit. I mean, I could probably force it, but instead I'll just give up and get out my bigger trimmer. And so you could start your curtain at any length. This one I just happened to start it at, I think I started it actually at 2 1/2. Yeah, I did. So you see I'm going down to the very first score line from that 2 1/2 inch mark and just cutting all the way down. And you can't even get the whole thing in my frame because that thingy is humongous. So now I'm just going to zigzag fold. Let's find my little bone folder here. And just make sure that the top edge is nice and straight. Just kind of fold back and forth. So yeah, I watched her do her video on a 5x7 card, and I thought that is so cool, but I don't make a lot of 5x7s. I'm kind of an A2 kind of girl. So I just fooled around with the measurements a bit and adapted it to fit. And I don't know if that's her original recipe or if she got it somewhere, but I'm just crediting where I saw it. And I'm not worried that I got some red fingerprints on that one piece because we're going to cover that. Just making sure again that it's all straight at the top before I burnish. Okay, so we've got this piece. Now we need to fill it in. And so I'm going to be cutting strips. And this is some paper from, oh gosh, it's Craft Consortium. It's called Elf Magic, I think. And I'll have everything listed in the description box below where I got everything. So I'm going to cut that at about, I don't know what I just said, but I did write it down. I don't know what I just measured. Let's see. So the first strip is going to be 5 1/4 by 1 3/4, a little bit under 1 3/4. So if you see me making that mark, that just means less than, and I forget, my husband has a name for it. It's a carpentry term, but maybe short, 1 3/4 short. I think that's the word. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the length that I need. And you'll see, I'll show you at the end, I'll show you a couple of modified ones, because I did need 2 sheets of 6x6 paper to do this. But I did a modified one where I went only 1 inch from the top, and I was able to get the strips, all the strips, out of one piece of 6x6. So, and you'll see what that looks like. So I'm just going to glue this piece down, and then I'll glue the rest of the pieces down. I had some fun ideas for this, but I'm just showing the video of one of them. And I'm going to be coloring and stamping, and then just using some ephemera that I have on hand. I absolutely adore this paper. I love the colors and the little silly hats. And you'll see later on when I'm stamping, I modify my stamps a little. I don't actually modify the stamps. I modify the stamped image so that it matches with the hats. So you just want to make sure that everything's flush against there. And then I'm going to take my next piece and I'm going to cut it down to 1 1/8, and the next 3 pieces should be 1 1/8. Shy, just 1 1/8 short, like my husband would say. So strips 2, 3, and 4. 1 1/8 shy. So, you know, we're talking a fly's eyelash, a 32nd of an inch. You just need it a little bit smaller so everything folds nicely. If it doesn't fold, trim it some more. Let me just cut the 3 pieces. And you'll see the end piece is just not enough. It's not wide enough. Now, if you were to leave a border on these, then it would be. Now, typically, you can draw a line here and cut that off if you want to, or you can cut them off later. And you'll see I'm doing that later, because, well, I run out of wherewithal sometimes, don't you? Like, I'm not going to go through all that. I'm just going to trim them off and hope for the best. We want to make sure that next piece folds over easily. And then we'll just carry on. You could do this with different colors of paper. You could do it with different papers. You know, a different one for each strip. So see here, now I'm just gluing the strip down. Because it's kind of like that thing, you know, your first kid, all that care and carefulness. Second kid, you're slinging them over your hip like it's nobody's business. Okay, we'll do the third one, or fourth one. Trim it off. And it's just not quite big enough for that last piece, because that last piece is about 1 1/4. So I will go ahead and just go ahead and cut another strip. Like I said, you do you on these. Do them the way that you want to. If you want to make them a little bit smaller, then do that. So last piece, 1 1/4. I think it's 1 1/4 heavy. Or maybe just 1 1/4. Let's cut it at 1 1/4. And I actually cut it wider and then trim it down just to make sure. You know, when you get those oddball measurements that your measuring machine doesn't do, or your, you know, the thingy that you use to measure. Your trimmer. See, I can say words. They're hard, but I can do it. So I'll glue this last piece on. Just make sure it's good and stuck down, because I will be trimming. And I'll just trim that excess off and save that excess piece for another project, or the inside of the card, whatever. And then I'll just trim off any excess here best I can. I'm not that great at doing this. I just am a terrible aim. So there we go. We've got our curtains with our little inside piece. Now on that piece, the pink piece that you see, you want to make sure that it's double-sided paper, that it's not white on the other side, because that's what's going to show through. And I'm just putting glue at the top. I want to leave them open for now. in case I want to tuck things in there, because you can do that. And that might be fun. And I may change my mind. I don't know. You never know. But for now, I'm going to leave that open so I can tuck things in. And then I'll just put something heavy on it and let it dry, just to make sure it stays together. But there you've got a full 4 inches. And then I have here a top folding card base, and I have a sped up quite a bit. And this is my coordinating piece. Came out of the same paper pad. And then this piece will get glued down onto it. And I'm gluing it straight down for now. On another one, I actually build up the papers. So you can do it either way. But you can see now that everything fits there. And now I've got the Sledding Fun gnomes set from Trinity. And I'm going to stamp them. I'm going to color them with my alcohol markers. But before I do that, you'll see how I modify them. And I'm going to do the 2 trees too, because I may want to tuck those into those little curtain folds. Let's stand by with me while I pull everything down off of that shelf, trying to get my mini Misty. I had it was blocked in. I have a pan holder, and then that Stampin' Up thing was blocking it, and it fell down, and this fell down, and yeah, that was fun times had by all. But alas, we're back to work here. So I'll go ahead and put the alcohol marker friendly paper in my stamping platform, and I do use the Crafty Critta stamp and blending paper for my alcohol markers exclusively. I love this paper. So we'll go ahead and throw everything on here. And I keep telling people, you should try it, you should try it. But especially if you live in Australia, because, you know, you do have the shipping. But, you know, if you're thinking about when you're paying for Express It paper, it might work out the same. So there's that. And this paper is thicker than Express It. And I like to use my Ink on 3 Blackout for alcohol marker coloring. You use whatever you love. And it's going to take 2 or 3 stampings to get it as dark as I want it, because I like them nice and black. So there's number 2. And yep, one more. Kind of usually the magic number is 3, depending on how many stamps you lay down on your platform and how you press and how long you hold. You know, the whole process thing. Give them a good push. Okay, happy with that. Let's pull it out, and I want to make sure that that ink is dry before I move on to the next step. So I'm going to choose my colors that kind of coordinate. And I have this quite sped up. You can see I've got my little micro pen, and I'm just adding those extra lines to kind of make the hats match. Get some little polka dots going in there, and we'll do some browns going here. Yeah, I'm going way too fast to even name the colors I'm throwing on there. Let's see, I need a darker brown, and I always use that little chart that I got from Sandy Allnut. It's made my coloring life amazing. All right, let's do his little hat. We'll do it some greens, sort of aqua greens. Again, you're trying to match color-wise what's going on the pattern paper. We'll do a little brown right there, just a little shading. Do some polka dots on the top of the hat, get the little gloves. Okay, happy with that. Now I'm going to do the trees. And I've got the G420, the G340. I think I'm going to grab the G3. I want a darker green, but I want it in the green blues. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, which one do I want to go? That one. Yep, G3. And so I'll color the trees, of course, with the lightest color first. And then I'll go in with the dark color. I'll add the mid-tone and then come back with the light, just to add a little bit of shading. I mean, these are cartoon trees. They don't have to be perfect. Don't ever make yourself be perfect. Get those little loop-de-loops going on there. And there we go. There's our green trees, but they're not green like, you know, green. And I'll go ahead and do my sled. I kind of jump around when I'm coloring. If I get too bored with one thing, I'll just jump somewhere else. That keeps me coloring. So I'm just going in with a light, medium, and dark and just adding shading and light where I think I need it. And then I'm just going to do the tree trunk straight up. Okay, so I'm doing the rest off camera. And I've done their little shoes and their little faces and the little rocks from the trees. So I've got them cut out, but I feel like they're lost on here. So I'm going to do a little extra here. I'm going to go a little extra, see how you can tuck things in. So at this point, I'm still thinking I'm going to tuck things in. Is anybody else having a problem with gnats this season change? Man, they're driving me crazy. And I don't know why they're so attracted to nail polish. Every time I do my nails, they're buzzing around. I'm like, no gnats. So I'm going to cut that circle out of vellum, and then I'm going to cut a second circle, and I'm going to make a little snow hill. And then I'll cut out the cinnamon as well, just so everything's done and we can finish putting this card together. So I've got everything cut out. And I did the Snow Much Fun, and what's cool about those is they cut out separately, so you can put them where you need. And I'm just kind of moving them out of the way so I can make sure I stay in frame here for you. And I'm going to glue this little white snowy bank right onto the vellum. So, because I love that paper so much, I don't want to lose, you know, a lot of it, but I do want them not just flying in midair. So I'm just kind of auditioning where I want them to go, and then I'll go ahead and glue the little snowbank onto the vellum. I'm just using liquid glue. I think that's my PVA glue right there. I don't know. Okay, we'll get that glued on. And then I want it to go, you know, kind of downhill because they do appear to be moving. Just decide kind of where I want them, and I'm going to leave the top portion of them open still because I'm not sure where I'm going with it until I go there. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue down this bottom part to the snowy bank, making sure that the rungs of the sled are on the snow, otherwise it's flying off. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now, where am I going to put it? I don't know. Where am I going to put the trees? So, you know, I just put the trees in different spots, trying to decide, you know, how I want them. Or if I even am going to use them. I don't know. Will I use those? Will I not? Do I want it there? Maybe. Maybe. I'm not sure about the big tree. But see, I can tuck it in behind them. I'm going to go ahead and glue these down because I don't think I'm going to tuck anything into those two spaces. If you're not going to tuck, glue it all down. And then I'm going to pop them up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add the foam tape to the card itself versus adding it to the back of the gnomes. That way I can just lay them right down on top of the foam tape and make sure I have my position the way I want it and in between, because those are at different levels. So I'll just take a little piece of this foam tape and lay it right there where I know it's going to be covered, and then I'll peel off and lay him down, lay these two dudes down how I want them. And once I'm happy, I'll commit. Then I can decide where to put the trees. It does look like I'm going to need a little bit of support on the side. I'm just going to add a little glue right there to that one particular spot. And this is one of the things you can't teach because you have to, you know, you have to be there. Everybody does something different, but this is how I'm doing it. And then I'm going to go ahead and take a piece and peel it apart, and then just carefully lift this and tuck it underneath. So they've got a little support right there, and then I'm going to do one on the other side over on the snowy bank. And just make sure that it's not sticking out of the snow. There we go. There, I feel better about it. It feels more sturdy. On the one, it was a little bit wobbly. So now, to decide where to put these dang trees. I don't know. Let's see, do I want it back here? Do I want it back behind them on the snowbank? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I want this one on this snowbank. Yep, I'm going to stick it back in there, I think. Yeah, maybe back here. Yep, right there. I decided. I think I take longer deciding where to put things than I do actually coloring, and no, that's not true. Coloring takes a long time. I'm not going to lie. I think I'll tuck this little tree in there. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. That's see why I left those spaces open in case I wanted to tuck something. We'll tuck that little guy right in there. Then we need to do our sentiments. And I'm going to do those, I think, directly on the snow. Kind of catty corner. So with these die cuts, you have to remember to kind of press down, let the glue dry, because you'll see later, I have them pressed down, but not enough, so they come up on me when I do something else. And I stamped those out in some pink ink, just to kind of coordinate everything. Okay, so there we go. Now I might do something, a little something on the inside with a leftover strip of that paper. So let's open that up. Let's grab a strip of the paper. And let me see, which strip do I want? This one, the smaller one, I think. And see, I'm moving my stuff around and I don't even notice I'm doing that. I'll go ahead and throw some glue on here. And just stick it down, I don't know, where I feel like it. Smooth it out. Then I can trim it off the other side. Okay, I'll trim it this way. And then it's going to need a little bit more glue because I didn't get quite to the end with it. And here you're going to see my sentiments dropped off because they weren't dry and I started moving around. So I'll fix those in a minute. Let's go ahead and trim that excess off. And okay, pay attention there, don't you notice? Took me a minute to notice, but I want to do some little sparkles on here that kind of match up. And this is my number 5 Jelly Roll pen, and I always test it on my hand, and it works on my hand, but then when I go to draw it on my project, doesn't want to go. I keep trying. In reality, I haven't even noticed that my sentiments fell off yet. I'm sitting here fighting. Now, in order to get these nicely, they do need to be with the number 5. I finally give up and get out my number 8. I just can't get my 5 working. It works fine on my hands, so I know there's not a problem with it. And I'm only coloring over alcohol ink, so it usually works. I don't know. I struggle with these number 5s. If anybody has any ideas about maybe another brand that actually works, because I couldn't tell you how many times I've thrown them away because they quit working entirely. Just the number 5s. The 8s and the 10s work great. And I actually have a little fountain pen with some white ink, but if you saw the mess that was going on around me, you only see a portion of it. There's no... It's buried. It is buried. I know you feel my pain. All right, I give up on the number 5. Forget it. Let me go grab the number 8. Make sure it's working. And it's working just fine. And I'm just making little kind of sparklies here and there just to kind of coordinate with the sparklies going on in the paper. I have so much fun modifying, you know, stamped images and adding extras like that. Let's do some on their little noses. And I want to make sure I get plenty on there. There we go. Yep, see, here's where I notice, oh my gosh, what happened here to my sentiments? Okay, let's fix that. So I'll just stick them back down, no big deal. They were so wet still that they didn't even really get glue on the paper. Because when you cut those out, they kind of cup. And so you have to make sure you get enough glue that the cupping, you know, gets kind of canceled out. There we go. I'll add a little glossy accents to their noses and to the puffs on their hats. Well, everything just wants to give me a problem today, doesn't it? Come on, squeeze out of there. All right. We'll give you a jam with the pin and see if you'll go. Come on. There we go. Get their little noses. And I won't put any jewel embellishments on here at all today. Just not in a jewel mood. Yeah, I think that's all. I think I'll just do the noses and the hats. Let's make sure there's plenty on this guy's nose because it was barely coming out. There. So there it is, my curtain fold card. Again, I will have the person whose card I cased linked down below. And here's some still images. So here's the original that I did for you today on video. And then off camera, I did this one with just a bunch of ephemera. I made kind of a cluster on there. And then this final one, this one is actually, I did leave those open and I have a gift card stuffed in there. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and take care. Bye-bye.